What is up, guys? So I just finished watching day 0 of the E3 press conferences that were going on, and I am super stoked to talk about it. But before I get to that, let's get to a few announcements of what's going to be happening to this channel and what I want to be sharing with you this week. Okay, so what I wanted to announce is that tomorrow the show floor is open, and I was fortunate enough to get my E3 passes to attend all 3 days. So it's been maybe 4 or 5 years now since I last attended E3, and a lot of things have changed since the last time I attended E3. Nowadays, a lot of the games are played in VR or some kind of virtual reality, and back then they were still trying to promote games like Halo 4, the Uncharted, Drake's Deception, a lot of HD remasters. That's when it all started. Nowadays we have a ton of HD remasters. Duke Nukem, I think, was announced, but we all know how that went. Call of Duty was still a big thing, especially Modern Warfare 3 and the Black Ops 2 series. E3 is definitely the place to be if you want to get, first hands-on look to all the games that will be releasing within, if not the current year, the following year. I haven't particularly planned out exactly what I want to see in the show floor. I want to be able to check out as much as I could possibly handle in those 3 short days. So let me know in the comments below if there's anything you want me to check out specifically, anything that interests you. If maybe I can, talk to the people working there and ask them questions that you may have about a game that you're interested in, or even hardware. Oculus is there. I don't think HTC Vive is, but VR is a big thing, and this is probably the first year I'll be able to get my hands on something that isn't a Google Cardboard. There's a slim chance that I will try Resident Evil 7, I think it is. That's probably too spooky for me, so we'll see. We'll see how things go. If I'm brave enough, I'll try it on PlayStation VR. Alright, I forgot to mention too that, there is a lot of swag, a lot of goodies that you can pick up all around the convention floor, and never know, depending on what I get, maybe I could do like a little giveaway to show my appreciation for you guys checking out my E3 coverage. But if there's anything you guys want to see, just let me know. I'll be on the lookout for it. I know a couple of my friends really want to see some stuff on Fire Emblem or Persona, but I don't know. I think it really depends on Nintendo though, because Nintendo, they do have a show floor there, but it doesn't look like they could be covering all that many games besides The Legend of Zelda. Alright, so we've got that short little announcement out of the way. Let's get to talking about the E3 press conferences that happened Sunday and today, Monday, day 0 of E3. It's kind of weird that they call it today day 0, knowing that, Tuesday is day 1, but would that make Sunday -1? I don't know. You tell me. Let's start off by talking about each of the press conferences held these past 2 days. Did they take any risks? Did they challenge themselves? Did they play it safe? I think that many of the developers and the publishers and console makers, they've learned a lot from the past E3 mistakes. If your console or your game is too expensive, people just don't want to buy it. Sometimes games are delayed for the pure reason that they aren't ready. Internal studios have been struggling as of late to release games on time, and as a result, we don't get the same quality that people expect. DLC is almost kind of like a disguise for what a full game should have had. Take, for example, like Star Wars Battlefront. That game came without a single player at all, and I think it really hurt the game, especially at the price it was set forth at release. Which brings me to the first press conference I want to talk about, which is EA. EA, in my opinion, was by far the weakest press conference of the 2 days. Only for the fact that I really couldn't feel emotionally attached to what they were trying to sell as far as games go. You get your typical sports game, you know, like Madden, FIFA, but you know, they were missing things. Like, what happened to NBA Live? Have they given up on that title altogether because of their past failures in recent years? Have they just succumbed to NBA 2K's dominance in the basketball sports game scene? It's really unfortunate because NBA Live was my personal favorite basketball series for a while. I mean, that's a bit of an understatement, seeing how many titles I've owned of NBA Live, but without competition, you know, sometimes these sports games just become pretty stale because they don't have anyone to really compete with and innovate game features that each of their games are known for. I mean, other than that and all the esports talk that they were including in their sports games, EA really didn't show that much gameplay footage as far as live demos. A lot of the games that they've revealed were stuff that we already knew about. Let's see, there was Titanfall 2, which was already something people were expecting since last E3. This time around, you can expect it to be on the PS4. And of course they were saying that it now has a single player campaign alongside the multiplayer experience. They also revealed Mass Effect Andromeda and of course Battlefield 1. Most of the Battlefield 1 gameplay was actually in the after show, where they let the audience play the game. Possibly the most disappointing part of the entirety of the EA press conference is what they're doing with the Star Wars franchise. They basically gave no details as to what they're working on. I mean, the good news is that at least they are working on numerous Star Wars titles across a vast majority of their studios at EA. But yeah, it wasn't really the most eventful press conference, I would say, and I'll be sure to at least check out Battlefield 1 when I get to the E3 show floor, depending on how long the lines are, that is. I remember Battlefield 3 would wrap around the corners of the EA booth and you would wait maybe 1 or 2 hours just to play the game. Alright, so moving on to the next press conference, Bethesda was a pretty interesting show. I mean, even though I don't actually play a whole lot of Bethesda games besides maybe Fallout 3, which is way back when now, they started off the press conference by announcing Quake Champions, which is a really popular arena shooter, especially in the PC gaming scene. Hopefully Quake Champions doesn't run into the same exact problems that, you know, the Doom multiplayer was having, seeing as they are both arena shooters. But yeah, let's see here. Bethesda came out with a ton of DLC announcements for a lot of the games that they currently have out. You know, Fallout 4, the Elder Scrolls. There was a Skyrim remaster announcement. We got some gameplay footage of Dishonored 2. I mean, overall, I think Bethesda was really trying to prove that they will continue to support their games in the long term. And while they didn't really reveal all that many new games besides Dishonored 2, it was still pretty cool to see that they were going back to their roots with Quake Champions and even teasing games like Wolfenstein. As far as the things that I would probably check out at the Bethesda booth would be the VR for Fallout 4. You know, it'd be really cool to walk around the wasteland. And I even heard that from the developers that it's actually the full game. They don't want you to feel restricted to, you know, a certain closed space. They want you to have the full experience as it was intended to be. Alright, so next up on the list is Microsoft. They started very early in the morning, and not only that, they set the bar really high. And I was expecting everyone else afterwards to pretty much fail. So keep in mind that, you know, I do not own an Xbox One or Xbox 360, but I'm pretty familiar with the kinds of games that Microsoft publishes. And speaking of which, you know, the first game that they announced was Gears of War 4. And I thought the gameplay was okay. It was alright. It wasn't really anything spectacular, but it was definitely the ending when they showed Marcus Phoenix. The crowd started getting into it, you know, just seeing one of the characters that they're so accustomed to playing in the series. I mean, I could go about naming like all the games that Microsoft revealed. Like, it was really crazy to see how many exclusives they had. I mean, the list went on, but it was really cool that, you know, they were really into that crossplay between PC and the Xbox One, you know, the new slim console, and especially, you know, like the tablets and all, and the phones with Minecraft. Microsoft lost me a bit during the Minecraft portion of the conference, but you know, to each their own. You know, it's just something that I'm not too much into. All in all, I think Microsoft had probably the best conference in terms of showing live demos of the trailers they were showing, because it shows that, you know, their games are almost done. You know, most of them are arriving right around the corner. I think maybe more than half of the titles were going to be released this year. Now, the question that I have towards Microsoft is, knowing that the release of Scorpios next year, is it really worth the upgrade, or at least the purchase of an Xbox Slim S? I guess that's something that has to be left up in the air for probably the following E3 next year, because, you know, Sony also has Project Neo that they're working on. Alright, with Microsoft out of the way, next up is Ubisoft. Ubisoft was celebrating their 30th anniversary as a game studio, and as their introduction with, I believe, Just Dance, they had a bunch of mascots and people in costume and paint, which is really weird, but I'm glad they at least had a sense of humor about it. Ubisoft was pretty similar to, you know, what Microsoft accomplished previously, in which they would, you know, play a demo after playing a trailer, and, you know, they would show off games like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Wildlands, and talked about South Park and all that stuff. But, you know, speaking of which, you know, some of those segments were just a little bit longer than I would like them to be. I feel that, you know, you should just tease the game sometimes and just leave the rest to the audience's imagination, or maybe have them experience it through like a demo when they get home. But, you know, all in all, their conference was not bad. I didn't really get to see all of it. I missed most of the Star Trek stuff, even though I'm not that much of a Star Trek fan or anything. But definitely For Honor was something that I was hoping to see, but I had some errands to do. But definitely on the show floor, I'm going to check out For Honor, because I'm really into that samurai, knight, and Viking thing they got going on there. But yeah, whenever I happen to stumble upon a re-upload of the Ubisoft press conference, maybe I'll check out the stuff that I'm missing, or, you know, just when I get onto the show floor in the next few days, I'll just go ahead and do my thing and play For Honor maybe like all day, not play anything else at E3. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and close things off with our final press conference, and by far my favorite of all of them, and that is Sony. Sony literally came out with a bang, with a full-blown orchestra introducing the next God of War game. So if you know anything about me, I am a huge fan of the God of War series. You know, I've played them all, including the PSP titles, and it's just nice to see that we're now in Norse mythology rather than Greek mythology. Following the reveal of God of War, I felt that the Sony press conference just had the right amount of pace in showing the games that people wanted to see. You know, they would mix it up from very action-oriented games to a few scary VR games like Resident Evil, and, you know, introducing Hideo Kojima and his new title with Norman Reedus. It was crazy that the amount of games that they were showing. Definitely one of the more exciting announcements for me was the fact that Activision is working with Sony to release the first 3 Crash Bandicoot games as an HD remaster. You know, it's definitely something from my childhood that I'd like to experience again, but, you know, in higher res graphics. It was nice to see that they had a couple VR games on there. They're saying at least 50 titles were to be released at launch up until the end of the year, especially like Batman Arkham and Farpoint, Star Wars Battlefront, Final Fantasy 15, and Resident Evil. Now, what hurt Sony the most, in my opinion, was that they didn't have many release dates for most of the games, so many of them are pretty much just left wondering, like, when are they even going to be out. Things were definitely left out of the conference, like No Man's Sky, due to the delay of the game, and of course the PlayStation Neo, which is something that, you know, a lot of people have leaked information on the specs of the system, but we don't know exactly when it will be out either. Now it could be that, you know, I'm a bit of a Sony fanboy per se, but Sony just really captured everything that went right during E3 without overdoing much of anything but show us games, and more games. Well, alright guys, thanks for making it this far into the video. I really appreciate you listening to all my chit chat about the conferences that happened these past 2 days. Remember to leave a comment down below if there's anything you guys want me to check out on the E3 show floor. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.